It's Tuesday, July 24th, 2012. I'm Rim.
And my name is Inigo Montoya. You're killing my fun.
So you're making a just
Prepare to
reference to The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
That's like saying the cake is a lie randomly at a convention.
Yep. It sure is.
And you thought of this just now?
No, I thought of it days ago. Let's do this.
Anyway, tonight we're talking about Takenoko.
I don't even think you said this is Geeknights.
That precocious panda. So actually, we learned about this game for the main bit at Nerd NYC, you know, the board game night we always go to in the city.
Ryan, the guy who sort of runs the show there, he usually shows up with the same sort of set of default games that you go to if no one else brought anything or if you've played everything else out, right?
I've played all of those games, most of them with him.
Yeah, he brings, Loco and Suro and Settlers and whatever.
Well, it's like if he was our friend Chase. He'd be there with Spot-It,
right.
Bananagrams.
But this time, he got a new game. I was like, oh my God, he got a new game. He brought it. It was called Takenoko. We're going to talk about it.
So what's this game like?
Wait, we're advanced. We save it for the main bit. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, but after that, we had to play another game, and Emily was there. So, and we had some cool internet person. We had a bunch of people. We played Carcassonne. So, as I'm teaching everyone, Scott and Emily are like, don't listen to anything Rim says. He always wins this game, like 90% of the time. Seriously, don't listen to him. And Jeremiah, who's playing with us, is there, and he's like, 90 whatever percent. And he pauses. He's like, how many games have you played? He's super dubious. And he was really like, this is bullshit. You're just... Yeah, I totally won.
Yeah.
Despite Scott and Emily telling everyone else to watch out for my bullshit.
Because it only works if everyone knows, right? They have to know you or else they won't believe.
Imagine
if you go to play a game with two strangers, right? You're at PAX and two strangers, you're gaming with them, right?
Yep.
One of them says, watch out for my friend. I'm serious. He always wins. We have to team up on him. I'm not shitting you. What do you do against these two strangers? You don't know anything about them.
But what if it is three strangers?
How do you know it's not a team grift? That would be your first guess, wouldn't it be?
But if it is three strangers and two of them are saying, watch out for this
How do you know it's
guy?
It's a 4-player game? How do you know it's not a team grift?
Actually, Scott, I would have lost, except that you, of all fucking people, ended up king-making with me. You were like, Rim, Apple, and I was like, Apple, and we stared playing, and the two of us pulled away.
No, because I was trying to Apple you in the city and orange you in the farm, but I fuck up the farm every time because I don't know how to do the farm.
Well, you know what my real strategy is to win? Because Carcassonne, it was base Carcassonne, like without any expansions.
No,
which,
it's nothing.
While I have that game memorized statistically, it is pretty random among skilled players. Like winning or losing, if you're playing well. Like if I'd lost that game, there was no decision I could have made differently to alter that. But anyway, so to enhance my likelihood of winning, I do the same thing every time, and I'm going to reveal the secret right now. When there are novice players, I teach everyone how to play, and I give accurate, honest, very good advice to everyone at the table.
Yep.
For the first 2/3 of the game, I don't lie in the last 2/3. I just start bitching about how I'm losing because I gave everyone else good advice. Which is usually true at that point because I give everyone else good advice and simultaneously I'm setting up farms and things that don't score right away. So I look like I'm way behind and everyone else knows that I'm giving good advice, so they listen to me. Then I kind of stop giving advice toward the end and just bitch about how I'm losing and I can't win this game. And somehow that always works, even though you guys know I do it. The first warning sign with Rim, if I ever say, well, I can't win, that is code for I am definitely winning.
And you know what the scariest part is? Even though you say this, you tell everyone exactly what you're doing, it doesn't matter. It's like, this is the thing that our government and most governments of the world have learned. They used to, right? The governments around the world used to be evil, but would hide their evilness. They'd be like, oh, we can't let anyone know about this corrupt, evil, wrongdoing scandal. Nowadays, they're just like, scandal. Yes, we did that scandal. And what? And we're going to do it again. And you're not going to do anything about it next time either. That's Rim.
Yep. But you know
doing the same thing that all governments have learned. It's like, oh, yeah, you can have freedom of speech. We don't need to censor you. Yeah, tell everyone about all the evil things we did. It's not going to matter.
I've been on a roll lately, though.
Look, everyone told everyone all the evil things you did. Guys, the government is doing all these bad things. Yep, we know.
Remember that, what was it,
You
Mall
said
of
it
Horror?
100 times.
Was it Mall of Horror, the Vote Who Wins
Vote
game?
Who Wins game? Vote Who Wins Zombie Mall?
I remember the one time I played that, Scott Scott is yelling across the room at us every turn, don't vote for Rim in the Vote Who Wins game, and guess who won? The game is literally vote until someone wins.
Yeah, every time I'd be like, let us vote, not Rim, every time. Guys, seriously. And then once Rim is eliminated and has no more zombie survivors, then play normally.
But no, they eliminate you instead, stupidly. The only game they're smart about
and if we played it again, if they listened to this podcast and then immediately played that game, they would still be stupid.
Now, it's interesting because the one game that doesn't work for any of us is Mafia. Those fuckers murder you, me, and Scott Johnson without even debating.
Why is it in Mafia? It's also a Vote Who Wins game. Do they vote against? But in the other Vote Who Wins game, they vote for.
What I find funny is every time they lynch you, me, or Skojo in a game like that, we're never the Mafia. Ever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's talk about actual stuff. So
Steam Summer Sale?
Steam Sale, let's talk about. So I made 2 purchases really, right? Well, 3. I pre-ordered Torchlight 2 and they gave me a free copy of Torchlight 1. But
shit, I forgot about Torchlight 2.
But I already had it. So it doesn't matter. I can't play it yet. But the game should be out September, October. It's basically Diablo 3. Yeah, it's a clicking game. But you know what?
But without real money bullshit.
Without any bullshit. In fact, I talked to them at PAX, and I didn't even have to ask them questions, really. When I spoke to them, this is last PAX Prime, their pitch was, look at all the bullshit we don't have. And I was like, I will give you $20 for your game that is nothing but clicking. Anyway, so I bought Fallout New Vegas because they had the Ultimate with all DLCs for a very low price. And I bought Oblivion, which is the previous Elder Scroll before Skyrim, because it was also all DLCs, very low price. So I bought New Vegas first because that deal was earlier in the week, and I started playing it. And I was expecting it to be more Fallout 3. Well, even though it's the same engine as Fallout 3, it's not as good as Fallout 3. I thought it was going to be more of the same, which is game that is fundamentally broken, but has interesting enough stuff in this world that it is worth spending some hours to explore it. It was actually much more boring than that.
Yeah, I could have told you that.
I didn't know that. I mean, I figured this would be more Fallout 3, but the thing with New Vegas is that without...
Did you get to Vegas?
No. Not yet, anyway. Is that it's just, the structure of the quests and the layout of the world is not so great. And the things that you find are... in Fallout 3, a lot of things you would find to be sort of this procedural, boring stuff. Like, this is the exact same place as that other place. It's just the lockers are in a different orientation. This has less of that. But the things you find aren't really, even though they're less procedurally generated, they're more boring. And there's not really that sort of, it sort of has that funky Fallout style in places, but it's mixed with the Wild West style. But it's not as cool and kitschy. It's like minus on the kitschiness. Also, the main...
But that kitschy Populux is the only reason to play Fallout.
Right. And, the main plot of Fallout 3 was significantly... had that whole you're in the vault and you play that whole beginning part and it sort of had that weird secretive space. You would go out of the vault and you enter this weird world, right? In New Vegas, it's so typical Western with no weirdness whatsoever. You were a guy delivering a message. Some guy stole the message from you, which was a poker chip that must have had something in it, as usual.
You didn't get far enough to find out.
And then you wake up in a town where a doctor heals you up and asks you a bunch of questions to determine your stats. And then welcome to Wild West Town. There's some bandits. And it's just like, nothing is just exciting at all. And I don't know how much more. I might play just to go see what the Vegas looks like and see if you can play all the casino games. Yeah, not exciting. The Oblivion, however, right? I feel kind of dumb. I had thought that these old Scrolls games, not having, played too many of them, I was under the impression that they were basically the same as those other D&D type games like Baldur's Gate and such, only 3D FPS. I did not know until just now, feeling pretty dumb, that Oblivion is pretty much the Fallout 3 engine. In fact, it's more accurate to say Fallout 3 is the Oblivion engine upgraded.
So
it's the same damn game, only fantasy.
So semi-procedural fetch quests.
Yes. However, all these games, have the same since they're on the same engine and have mostly the same rules, they all have the same problems game-wise.
Combat is walk backwards attacking.
Yeah, pretty much. Stuff like that. At least actually in Oblivion, a lot of times there's these imps that shoot fireballs at you really slowly, so it's the same as Doom where you're dodging imp fireballs. They're really slow. Anyway. And it doesn't have that sort of pause to shoot guys in the head that Fallout 3 has, which is actually kind of nice because I hate that. But I gotta say, the Oblivion, the game that they made on the engine, right? In terms of the non-game parts, as in, the story parts and art parts and all the music, not so much, but all the other parts, lore and all those things is really great. So I can see why those people who really don't give a shit about games as far as we can, care about them, but, care about lores and arts and graphics and stories
why
and
they
fantasy
like a game
worlds.
like that.
Yeah, that's why they're in love with these, old scrolls. Because usually when I go to like a fantasy thing, right, and it's not a world I already know, it's hard to make me. You have to do a really good job to make me give a shit, right? It's like Prince of Nothing. It's like a new fantasy world. Why should I care? Oh, I care because it's really good. Loch Lamora, I kind of care because it's pretty good-ish, right? But Forgotten Realms, I really don't care. I don't even is freaking Elder Scrolls even in Forgotten Realms or something, or is it just its own world?
What? No,
I don't even know. Is it its own world?
What? Where would you even?
This is how I don't even know. What world is it? Is it its own world?
It's not a Dungeons and Dragons world.
It's not Dungeons and Dragons at all?
No.
But it's really old.
Yeah?
So it's just its own place?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway. But they just, the job of world making in it is, I don't really care about the Elder Scrolls world, but I kind of care a little bit. I think the things that make me care less are the fact that you make your own character, and it has that horrible, giving the player too much control over what your character looks like thing, which is really annoying because you can never make something you're really happy with, but not willing to put in the time and effort to twiddle all of the 100 knobs to make the guy look the way you want him to look. And
oh my God, here's a forum argument of people trying to decide which is a better fantasy setting, Forgotten Realms or the Elder Scrolls universe.
Okay.
Except the majority of the posts are people saying, what the fuck is Forgotten Realms?
Okay.
Interesting.
Very interesting. But anyway, yeah. I wish that they would just anyway,
Why is everyone so afraid of making a game like this that just doesn't have the bullshit FPS-y combat-y game part?
That's exactly
and just make it a choose-your-own-adventure and explore game.
Yeah, because the rules and the numbers and the stats and the, all
boring
this,
as shit.
Right. It's like, there was this awesome quest I went on, right, where there was a crazy hermit, and I talked to the crazy hermit, and he ranted and raved, but then it gave me a quest. And it was sort of annoying that it gives you, the text instructions, but it's sort of impossible if they don't. The Mega Man. But anyway, even though they gave text instructions, I'm like, I'm going to go see if what this hermit has to say is true. So I go, and I look for the 9 altars out in the world that he gave me a map to. And I'm visiting the altars, right? And at one of the altars, I meet another guy who's also visiting the altars, right? And he talks about how, he's looking for him too. And he has a squire who's actually a character and not just a guy who's standing there with, stock, talking. And everyone is voice acted and everyone has, pretty complex dialogue. And after I get all these altars, I go, to this other place and there's these ghosts and I have to fight them. And then they're like, here's another quest. You have to go and get the pieces of the Crusaders' armor to, to revive our basically equivalent of Knights Templar organization. So I go and I get all the Crusaders' armor and I meet that same guy. He's looking for him too, but he died along the way and his squire is there. And he's like, hey man, what's up? He's like, the other guy died. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy that they made this work. And then when I get back and I finally birth this organization, that squire joins the organization. He's like, hey, can I join? I'm like, yes, arise, Sir Knight. And he's all excited. He's like, yes. And I'm like, man, whoever wrote this is really good writing. It's like I actually feel like a hero. I went on an epic quest, and it's just like the beginning of the game, right? And that part is great. But I didn't need to play this FPS of hitting with swords and worrying about how encumbered I am with
leveling
this heavy...
up your armor.
Dude, the leveling up is so
Yeah, guys, Quest for Glory used that mechanic an infinity number of years ago. We can move past it.
The leveling up is so dumb. So you use a skill to increase it, right? So you swing your sword and your sword goes up, right?
In Quest for Glory 1, I remember standing outside throwing knives at a tree for like an hour one day.
Yeah, and the way it works is to get an actual level, an actual full level, you have to get 10 points in skills, but they can only be your major skills. So I'm a mage. So my major skills are all the different magical schools and alchemy. So I really only ever used the destructive magic spells. I never used any conjurations.
It's like Burning Wheel.
Or
Who casts
illusions.
Anything but shards.
Exactly. The illusions are so useless. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to tell me they're useful, but who gives a shit? I can beat the game with just the fireball projectile thing that does 15 damage. So what do I give a shit about casting shield or whatever, or summon skeleton?
Inverse.
Right, exactly. So also the game, it is cool that I can be the armor mage. I'm wearing this full heavy armor, like full plate with a helmet. You can't even see my face. And I'm a mage. So I'm just like casting fireballs, and like my hand is holding the most magical enchanted sword, and I just put my fist forward while holding the sword, and a fireball comes out of it. That's pretty cool. But it's so annoying. I'm like, I'm only using one school of magic, so I never got any levels. So the game scales the difficulty based on your actual levels. So I've leveled up all these other skills really high, like heavy armor, which is not a mage skill. So bad guys can't really hurt me, but they're so low level bad guys because I'm only level 3. But then I learned that you could only access certain things when you got certain number of real levels. So I went to the Mages Guild and I cast Summon Skeleton like 50 times. I just basically used a rubber band and a rock to hold the button down on my keyboard.
Did you actually use a rubber band and a rock?
Yes, I did. I used a rubber band like a little pebble.
Oh my god.
And to hold down the cast button, and I set Summon Skeleton to be the spell. And a guy just stood there summoning skeletons until his mana ran out. But the mana recharges really fast because I put min-max
So what did all
that.
the skeletons do?
They just stand there because there were no bad guys nearby.
I picture in the far future of this world.
And every time you summon a skeleton, another one disappears. You can only have one skeleton at a time.
I was going to say, I picture some adventurer comes into a house someday and finds a mage dead and 1,000 skeletons.
No, so that
there.
leveled up my conjuration a whole bunch of times. And as soon as you get 10 points in any combination of your major skills, you get a real level. So I got like 4 or 5 real levels just holding down this button. But I didn't get any levels going on this epic quest to reform this ancient order of knights that I'm now the leader of. So game
designers, take note. Story alone, if you have a good story, you remember we did that money-making
It's not a game, but it could still be worth
But we were like, you can make
time.
a game and a monetization model. You can't make them both in vacuums. Games like this seem to do that, but it's with game mechanics and everything else.
I really want to get a copy of the engine that they use to make these Fallout 3, Oblivion, Skyrim games, and make a game such that all you do is walk really fast, because the walking is way too slow. At least they have fast travel and they give you a horse pretty early on, whatever. But you don't have, there's no fighting and there's no stats. Just remove all the stat parts so they don't even matter. And it'd just be quest items, right? And all the different actions you do are just all equal. Or maybe you just start completely maxed out, and none of the stats ever really matter in the game. It's just the world and the story, and has different places it can end.
Because we've shown from Mass Effect, Dragon Age, people actually do want what amount to really, really complex choose-your-own adventures, and I see no reason for that to not
tack
be
on
what
this
these games
first-person
are.
shooting RPG number thing.
Now, some people like the first-person, they like that, but the thing is, these implementations suck balls.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. I mean, it's tolerable enough that it's worth it. It's like if they didn't have that bullshit in there, I would probably do every quest in the game. I would explore every nook and cranny, right? But because I know, like, I'll walk by a fort and it'll be like, you have discovered the fort of the ancient blah, blah, blah. And it's like a part of me says, ooh, what's in the fort of the ancient blah, blah, blah? It's probably full of all kinds of goodies and mystic nuts. I want to see what's in there. Maybe I'll learn about some horrible ghost or tragedy that befell to something, and it'll, knowing the writers who wrote the other part really well, this part might be good too. And I could even bring my knights with me in there to do a lot of fighting. It'll be cool, right? But then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have to sit through a bunch of FPS bullshit, dodging fireballs and whacking guys with swords and saving a lot and loading if I get killed and all that. And it's just like, yep, not going in there, paying attention only to main quest, ignoring side quests completely. Not worth my time. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I bought a bunch of games, but I can't. I looked at my list and I realized I do not know which ones I bought now versus before.
You can look at your email from Steam.
Yeah, but the point was I cannot tell from my Steam list alone. That is how little regard I put into what I bought. But I know for a fact I acquired VVVVVV for legit. I probably bought a bundle or two to round out my list of bundle games I've never installed. Mm-hmm. But of the games I played a little bit of, I played some SimCity 4.
Whoa, you bought that? How much was it?
Some piddly amount. It was a few dollars.
All right, how does it compare to SimCity 2000?
So, I'm not sure yet. I played it for a while.
It has like extra stuff, right? Like garbage collection and 3D-ness, right? More 3D-ness?
So here's the deal. Playing it for a little bit, it felt slightly dumbed down, and it had this sort of weird alternate game where you can zoom into an individual person and check out their life.
Oh, like The Sims.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's actually a good or fun simulation game because I stopped playing it after like 45 minutes.
It wouldn't, it's not hard for us to just play SimCity 2000.
Yeah. They kind of automated a lot of stuff.
And you know what? SimCity 2000, if you put it on cheetah mode on our computer.
So it's the year 9999.
Yeah, it's like you do cheetah mode for a second. You're like, oops.
Everyone I ever knew and loved is dead.
You know how to get around it? Keep the newspaper on. That way the newspaper will stop you at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Like,
but here's one big difference, because you can tell the last SimCity I played was, I think, SimCity 3-ish?
I didn't play SimCity 3.
I played it a little bit and I didn't like it.
I never played it.
But anyway, if you zone like industrial or residential or whatever, the little side streets inside of there are automatic and just kind of appear and scale.
Oh.
So you only have to make the real roads.
So you only have to make highways.
And one really big nicety, if you build a school or a fire department, it shows the radius of effect on the map as you're placing it.
Oh, so a lot of UI improvements.
Yeah, a lot of UI
I feel
improvements,
like, though,
but the UI still is... It reminds me of Civ 2 in that it's really low res and really chintzy.
Really? I thought it was 3D and cool.
No, it's a pretty old game, actually.
See, what would be cool is someone made a hack for SimCity 2000 that added some of those niceties. Like, when you made a road, it would show how far the road reached, so you knew how far you could zone. No, because I could
never play SimCity 2000 again.
Why not?
Because SimCity 2000...
You fill a screen with arcologies and that's it?
The game is...
That's because your goal was to max out and sort of win. What you have to do is your goal has to be to make a beautiful city.
There wasn't enough granularity of simulation for that to be an interesting
mods.
challenge.
Someone can mod it and add all sorts of more stuff.
Minecraft.
I guess, yeah. Minecraft is that game, right? Make a beautiful city.
Well, so yeah, SimCity 4, Scott, came out in 2003.
Whoa!
Just to remind you how goddamn
What
old
is
we
the
are.
current SimCity then?
Fuck if I know.
Is there a newer one, or is that it?
SimCity series. This is what remember like 5 years ago when we would complain about old people talking about games.
There was a
anything?
SimCity on the iPhone, but it was basically SimCity 2000 with updated graphics.
A new game called SimCity is coming soon. As in 2013, and it's just called SimCity. There's SimCity,
but it's gonna be $50 when it comes out. I'll wait for that in a Steam sale for $3.
There is SimCity Societies, which is not...
That sounds like a spin-off and not the real deal.
Which is not what we would consider SimCity. It's about social energies and societal values.
Is that a Facebook game?
No, there's that SimCity Facebook game, which if you play that, I'm sorry, you're kind of stupid.
Yeah.
That's a terrible game.
Well, there's also Cityville and 100 other villes, which are the same bullshit.
Yeah, SimCity...
There's also a Civilization Facebook game, which is also the same bullshit.
The problem with SimCity 2000 is that it was a solved game if you went for the stated goals.
Right.
SimCity 4 is the same thing, except because I haven't played SimCity games in forever, I don't know the actual optimal solution, so I think it'll scratch more of the itch of what like Civilization 4, but not Civilization 5 was able to do.
I think I would like to see a SimCity where not only is it just like, commercial zone, but it's like you have to build the specific things.
No, but that's not how city planning works. That breaks from the metaphor.
Yeah, but it wouldn't. I don't want to play city planning. I want to play
city planning
city
is the only thing I want to play.
I want to play design the entire city.
Yes, even if you design a city.
We need a dry cleaner here, and we need a garbage.
You're saying that you'd rather play bullshit fantasy, here's my Taco Bell, instead of I'm Robert Moses.
Well, because they're two different games, right?
Yeah,
but
Robert Moses is the only game I give one fuck about.
It'd be more like Legos, only one building is one Lego.
So Minecraft.
Sort of, but it's like it's already a building, so it's more about arranging all these, thousands of different building pieces.
But at that level, the game basically becomes a macro version of Sim Tower.
I like Sim
Which
Tower.
is a shit game.
I like the tower.
I think we see where the divide is between
you don't
you
like
and
Sim
me.
Tower?
I hated Sim Tower.
Well, I mean, it's the Tower. It was a Japanese game.
Sim Tower.
It was a Japanese game called The Tower, and it was brought over and renamed and branded with Sim Tower. It's like when they put Carcassonne on games that are not Carcassonne.
So, I also bought Dragon Age, but we'll talk about that later.
I bought that too. It won't run. This is the first time that I can say.
Oh, welcome
that Scott
to the world
is
of your
Scott's computer
sucks.
does not work. My computer has always worked. This is the first time it has ever not worked.
Scott, what kind of processor do you have?
Core 2 Duo. It's not. No, that's not the reason it won't run.
How much RAM do you have?
Like 4 gigs or something.
What kind of video card?
It's a GTX 460.
Wow.
It's not because it's not powerful enough. My computer's way more powerful enough to play this game. It's just like there's some glitch in the game that's all over the Steam forums. That's like, yeah, when I press play, nothing happens. It just disappears. And I have this problem, and it's the first time that I ever have the problem, as opposed to everyone else having the problem, and my shit always works.
Well, it ran just fine for me, so I don't know what you did wrong.
Well, it's finally...
You must have fucked something up.
This is the first time ever.
You have clearly ruined your computer sucks. You've misconfigured
Clearly, there
something.
is something I am doing wrong, because it does work for a lot of other people, but not me and not some other people on the Steam
But
forums.
anyway, whenever Scott mans up and fixes his computer, then we'll talk. Well, we're going to play Dragon Age. And I also bought Amnesia, The Dark Descent. And you know what? It's pretty fun, actually. But it does the Mega Man thing to a degree that I almost wanted to stop playing.
Can you turn it off?
No. Like, you see a cool device with all these funnels, and you look at it, you're like, I wonder if that does something. But if you look at it, a few seconds later, text appears that's like, you don't have the 4 reagents to use this. Like, I guess I got to find 4 reagents.
Oh my God, this gave me a great idea. We should take the game that is what game is the opposite of Mega Man?
Ultima.
No.
Are you kidding? Ultima Quest of the Avatar.
I mean, yes, it is
the literal opposite of Mega Man.
It is one of the opposites, but the game
No. Ultima Exodus is even more obtuse.
That is true, but the game I was thinking of was Myst. We should make a Myst remix that has Mega Man.
That would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious, right? You go up to the sundial, and it's like, you do not have the thingy to, you need to set this to 3 o'clock at the whatever.
Scott, did you ever beat Myst?
No.
How many hours did you spend playing it?
I didn't even own it. I played at a friend's house for like an hour.
Really?
All I did was walk around to all the places you could walk around to and click on all the things.
I solved 0 puzzles.
Randomly to see what would happen. And I never bothered to actually try to figure it out. That friend who owned the game had figured out quite a bit and was actually using the journal in the back of the book to write down all this stuff. And I think he may have beaten it legitimately or got a fact. I don't know. But yeah.
But anyway, enough talking about games that we don't know anything about because, we haven't paid attention to SimCity in 10 years. It's time for Things of the Day. And my thing of the day is something very simple. There's not much to it, but you should watch it. Not Space Marines, but Spec Marine.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Spec Marine. IR Space Marines.
So this is blog called splitsider.com?
I thought for a second you were going to say Space Marine.
No. And Penny Arcade Report linked to them because they did this story, Keeping Score with Nick Arcade. It is an in-depth exploration of all that went into Nick Arcade. It's really long and also fascinating. If you know what Nick Arcade is,
Scott,
which you probably do if you're listening to this.
Omegathon finale.
I've said that before.
I know. If it were actually a Nick Arcade,
I know.
That would be really anticlimactic, actually watching it, but I think that would be the point.
But yeah, you got to read this article if you know what Nick Arcade is. And if you don't know what Nick Arcade is, go find on the internet somewhere an episode of Nick Arcade. and then read this article. You only really need to watch 1 or 2 episodes to understand.
Oh my God, Nick Arcade. Those kids were almost as dumb as the kids on Legend of the Hidden Temple.
In the article, there's actually a video. They embedded a YouTube video that is dumbest Nick Arcade player.
I have seen. Is it the girl who just doesn't go and get the thing and win?
Exactly.
Yep. He's even like, just go get the thing. You're starting to run out of time. Just go get it. It's right there. Just out of time. I guess you get poor kid. But anyway, those are things of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meta moment, we're going to be at PAX Prime and PAX Dev 2012.
Woo!
At PAX Prime, we are doing a new triple threat called Short Subjects in Gaming on Friday.
We really need to come up with a new title that people will come to.
Hey, a lot of people came to the triple threat.
Yeah, but it wasn't
that audience.
full, right?
It was a big room.
It was.
It was mostly full. There weren't that many seats empty in the back. But anyway, Friday, 3:30 p.m., Wolfman Theater. We are doing a competitive test of skill. We are doing When the Game Plays the Player, and we are doing On the Ethics of Mind Control, 3 20-minute lectures. On Wednesday at PAX Dev, we are moderating Academia versus Reality, Psychology, Game Theory, and Games. It's myself, Scott, Lou Crane, you might know him from Burning Wheel and Mouse Guard and such. Jared Sorensen, you might know him from Lacuna. I figured I'd name the game no one knows.
Yeah, Action Castle.
Yeah, the Action Castle guy. I'm making quotes. Now I'm making torch
Torches.
hands.
Yeah.
Avery Alex, a product manager for PopCap Games.
Isn't it Alex Avery?
So on LinkedIn, it's Alex Avery. Everything that he's ever written, he signs it Avery Alex.
With a comma?
No, just Avery Alex.
Alrighty.
So I guess that's when I asked for his headshot to put on the PAX Dev site, he specifically sent it as Avery Alex. So I put that up. And he was, you might recall, possibly to attend MagFest last year as part of the Gaming Intellectuals, but he had to not attend due to some unrelated things. So we're going to get to debate him on the things we didn't get to debate him on at MagFest at PAX Dev.
Well, it's not the same topic.
No, but everything we ever talk about gets to this topic in the end.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's going to be a pretty good discussion.
It's like it doesn't matter what the actual, title of the panel is. It's like what will be discussed. Game theory, solipsism,
Yep. Psychology.
Yeah, all the same things.
Perhaps a Pareto frontier.
Or 3.
Some Colonel Blotto. But that is the
Some Monte Carlo
extent of the meta moment because there's no other conventions other than PAX anytime soon.
The book club book. Actually, we're doing a book club book this Thursday. Guaranteed. This isn't like before we said guaranteed. This is for real guaranteed. QT84 Thursday. The next book club book I just started reading is
The Man Who Was Thursday. You may remember it as being referenced more than once in Deus Ex.
Okay.
That was how I found out about it.
I actually bought the Penguin Books edition. And
I bought a $1.95 Kindle edition.
The reason I bought this edition, I think it's actually public domain possibly, right? But the reason I bought the Penguin edition is because a Penguin Classic always has a bunch of extra shit in it.
You also might have thought back to when I bought The Little Prince and got that bootleg janky ass shit.
Also, but the other reason is that the cover is so awesome on the Penguin Books edition. I wanted to I know some small fraction of the money will go to whoever made that cover, and they deserve it. Oh, and also it smells really good. They use really good paper on those.
I think Penguin...
And I was reading a lot of Kindle books lately, and it's like you don't get any smell reading
You know what we
those.
need to invent? A device you stick on your
Kindle, and it spits out book smell.
It has 2 smells.
And it comes with different book smells.
It
Used book, new book.
And Magic Card.
Magic Card. Nintendo cartridge.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we should make a video game and sell it and inject in the box Nintendo cartridge
No, we
smell.
should make a perfume that smells like Nintendo cartridge and sell that at conventions and make all the money.
How do we gotta have, I know there's perfume companies that can make stuff smell like anything, just like they can make anything taste like anything. How do we hire those people and how much do they cost?
I don't know. We should add that to the hopper, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll put it in right now.
Also, MagFest, forums.
That's in January.
We got a forum. We got videos. We got Twitters.
Yeah. Check out our things on the internet. I know a lot of people possibly just subscribe on iTunes and listen to us. If you're not listening now, then I'm not talking to you, obviously, because that's not possible. But if you are listening to us, you should go to our things on the internet that we have, like our website and our whatnots, because that is how it rolls. Like our newsletter. which is pretty cool.
Or our Rockin' Forum, which right now, there are 7,004 comments in the My Little Pony thread.
That's really going to make people want to join.
There are 5,671 in the Republicans thread, and that thread is currently the fastest rising. Now, we'll never talk about the forum like that again on the show, but if you subscribe to the Geeknights newsletter that Scott has been putting together, we do talk about the forum and all that meta crap that you people seem to love that we always avoid on the show.
Oh, another thing about the newsletter is that, a lot of other podcasts, they do stuff where, like, you email in and they'll read your emails on the podcast. And because we weren't ever really good about responding to them or making that a permanent segment, we never really got a lot of emails asking us things or such, right? Because people only really want to do it. As somebody who writes into things, you know that you only do it because you want to hear your thing on the show.
Well, we did get 8 paragraphs and a YouTube video on the Ouya from someone.
We did. But anyway, but in the newsletter, we are going to answer one thing in the newsletter from now on. So you can send it, if you subscribe to the newsletter, then you can send in questions and whatnot, and then we'll answer them in the newsletter, starting with the next one. So there you go.
All right. So we were at Nerd NYC, and our good friend, as we started to tell, whipped out this game, and it had a really cute panda on the cover, a precocious panda. It is called Takenoko, and straight off the bat, I'm going to say that this is an equivalent game in terms of the way you can use it as a person who owns games and needs to present games for other people to play as Zularetto.
Well, and it's not just because it has animals.
No, but yeah, similar level of complexity, similar level of how difficult it is to teach, how quick it is to play, how easy it is to socialize while playing.
Also, while the theme is animals, but that's not has anything to do with their similarity. But what is similar in the theme is accessible and friendly, right? Which does matter if you got a new player, right?
Yes, I mean, look
if
at
you bust out something like St. Petersburg, it's like, okay, it's got this theme with old European dudes all over it. That's not enticing to someone who's never played a game.
Yeah, I was
gonna
say, go to some of our friends and be like, you want to play a game that simulates the plantation crop trade in Puerto Rico,
right?
Or Panda game.
Right, if you take the exact same game and you put zombies on it, suddenly people want to play because they're shallow and don't really...
you could just reskin Takenoko as a zombie game.
Yeah, why not?
Pretty trivially.
You could reskin any game as any game, trivially.
Nah, sometimes the metaphor
What
breaks
game
down.
can't I reskin?
Can't reskin. All right, try to reskin Puerto Rico
All right.
as Tic-Tac-Toe.
Okay, so... there's not enough things in Tic-Tac-Toe.
Exactly.
Tic-Tac-Toe's not really a theme.
I chose the stupid example.
That's not that's Tic-Tac-Toe isn't really a theme. It's more of a game, right? You need to pick a theme.
All right, so theme it like Tic-Tac-Toe.
Theme it like Tic-Tac-Toe? Okay, so there would just be... I'd need more than X's and O's, though. I'd have to, make like X's with an O around them, and, so
See,
doubloon
my
would
point
be an
is
O,
simply
and
that
a victory point would be
for
an
a
X.
game like Puerto Rico, the theme of the game is pretty deeply tied to the metaphor of the mechanics. Like it is a metaphor for the mechanics in a sense.
Well, in some games that's more or less tied, right? And when it is really closely tied, it's pretty awesome, right?
When they're poorly
like
tied,
when a Dominion card, the thing it does makes sense considering what it is. That's always awesome.
But when it doesn't make sense, it literally just confuses players and causes you to cock up rules.
Yeah, when it's like militia, make the other guy discard 2 cards. It's like, oh, I get it. The militia attacks the other guy's hand. It makes sense, right? But when it's like chapel, trash, 0 to 4 cards, it's like, well, what does chapel have to do with
I'm confessing my
trashing?
sins and getting rid of them, lightening my load.
I guess, but that's stretching it, you see.
That's not that much of a stretch.
It's more of a stretch.
Why would the militia attack my hand instead of my town?
You don't have a town, but you see how it's more of a stretch.
Yeah, I do. I have all these provinces.
Okay, here's the perfect one that's not a stretch.
I have an estate. Why didn't they attack that?
The moat, defends against attacks. Perfect metaphor, right? It's a moat. It's a defensive structure. It defends against anything because it's a moat. Perfect.
But how does it defend against the witches? They fly.
It just does. They don't like getting wet.
But they fly.
They don't like
have
getting
to get wet.
But if you have a moat, you can splash them.
So it should be moat and splasher.
No, you're the splasher.
But then how am I going to manage my estate? I have a shit ton of them.
It's inside the castle. It's protected by the moat.
Do you know how many estates I have?
3.
So Takenoko is a pretty simple game. the story of the game is actually pretty cute too. You've got this precocious panda, Takenoko, and you might think, wait a minute, do these guys confuse China and Japan? Because pandas are from China and Takenoko is a Japanese name. That is what everyone who came up to the table to see what we were playing said when we told them what the game was called.
Yep.
But no, the story is the Emperor of China, in a show of good faith, gives the Emperor of Japan as a gift a precocious panda.
But it was a trap gift.
The Emperor of Japan doesn't know what to do, so he gives it to the poor gardener. And the gardener doesn't know what to do. And there's a little miniature of a panda, and there's a miniature of the gardener. The gardener has this look on his face like, what the fuck am I going to do with this panda?
I don't know what the fuck I would do with a panda.
Play with it and feed it bamboo, apparently.
Where would I get enough bamboo for the panda?
Apparently it grows pretty easily.
Where am I going to grow it?
In your luscious Japanese garden.
Yeah, you know how much freaking bamboo you need to feed a panda?
So anyway, the metaphor of this game actually does not link too closely to the reality of the game mechanics. The game is a pretty abstract game of sort of pattern matching, territory control with card objectives, kind of like Ticket to Ride. But you don't really control territories so much as try to construct a territory that will match while other people are trying to match on similar things. You can have momentary control by putting things on territories that augment them.
Yeah, it's like there's a shared space, right? So in Ticket to Ride, it's like these are your trains, these are someone else's trains, and you're trying to get your trains to meet your goals. In this game, there's a shared space, and everyone can modify that space in different ways, and you're trying to get the shared space to match your goals, and everyone has goals, so you might inadvertently help it match someone else's goal. You might, someone else might do something that makes it not match your goal anymore and make it more difficult for you to make the space match your goal.
Yep.
So you modify the shared space and you get cards and you need the space to go in line with what your cards say, and then you can play the cards to get points.
So I should back up. You can't really control the territory so much as you can control access to the territory at a given time. There's actually, for such a simple game to learn, there's a surprising number of mechanics when I think about trying to mention them all here. Basically, there's 3 ways to get victory points, and you get them from these cards. One deck of cards has a series of configurations of colored tiles that can basically constitute the board. There's pink ones and yellow ones and green ones. I think it's only 3 colors.
Yeah, I think so too.
So if there's like 2 pinks in a row, or 3 in a row, or 3 in a circle, and that's on the board, at any time on your turn, you can reveal that, yes, I have that pattern, I get that many victory points, however many are on the card.
Right, but it's really easy to set these up because just the tiles just have to be on the board. So you just choose the action for place tiles on the board, and you really only need like a few tiles. So you can, if you choose that action enough, it's easy to score on these cards very, quickly. But these cards aren't worth very many points. They're worth like 2, 3, 4 points based on their difficulty. But if you get enough of them quickly enough, you could end the game because playing a number of cards is the game-ending condition. So if you can get 7 of these before other people have a chance to score big point cards, you can win. So it is a good strategy.
So the way to win the game is when a player has revealed 7 matching victory point cards that they have actually done. They reveal them, they've got them out. The game will end. Every other player gets 1 final turn. You can only reveal cards on your turn, but if you have more than 7 revealed, that's okay. So say Scott reveals the 7th one and immediately ends the game. The game is in
I get a 2-point bonus for being the guy who to first reveal a 7.
And then we all get to take our turns. Say I already had 6 revealed, and I have 5 more cards in my hand, which is the hand limit, that actually have matched, but I had not revealed yet because I didn't want to end the game. On my turn, I can reveal all of them.
Yeah, you have a hand limit.
I now have 11
The hand limit
cards.
is 5, so you can have 5 cards in your hand, have 6 on the table, and then if you can somehow manage to get all 5 of those to be scored at once, you just play them all at once.
So I won this game like handily. And the way I did it was pretty simple. I looked at the board and figured out how to get as many of these cards as possible. I didn't care how many points they were worth. I just wanted to match. And I did that. And then I held them all in my hand. I only revealed like 1 or 2 at a time, so I was on par with everyone else. But then one turn, every card in my hand was also matched, and I could just end the game. So I just dropped all my cards, and no one was even close to me.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get more of those cards, but there's also this die factor, right? So at the beginning of your turn, you roll a die, sort of like Settlers, and that die determines the weather, and the weather pretty strongly influences your turn. If you roll, like, think the rain,
Well,
the wind. If you roll the wind, you can do the same action twice.
No. Let's back up a little bit. So basically, on your turn is simple. You roll the die and get a bonus action, and then you take any 2 actions. You have a list of actions like place some tiles on the board, or draw a card, anyone you like, or move the panda, or move the farmer. And then the die determines what your 3rd special action is. And they range from your 2 actions can be the same action, or get a 3rd action, or
those are
do whatever
the
fuck you
ones,
want,
right?
Or get one of these modifiers to tiles that I don't care about.
Exactly. If you roll the one that gives you 3 actions, and the one that lets you double up on actions, or the one that lets you choose, and then you can choose.
Or the rain. The rain was really good.
The rain is okay. But a lot of these other ones kind of suck, depending... I'm sure somebody says, oh, no, if you roll those, here's what you do, right? But, it's like I'm already going in a particular direction. I don't know what my future rolls are going to be. So if one person rolls, let's say theoretically, the get 3 actions thing, they're probably going to win. If someone keeps...
No, because you can't take the same action twice, and there's a big diminishing return.
You also have to roll... The thing is, if you get 3 actions, you can always use that 3rd action to draw a card and still get 2 actions to try to fulfill the cards.
Unless your hand is full of things that you can't lay down.
But if you're using the other 2 actions to fulfill the cards, you can lay them down.
But you're also helping everyone else out. And actually,
you don't know if you're helping anyone else out. You could be hurting other people. You don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? The way I won is I only did things that other players couldn't fuck with and that I could not help other players with. I got because there's 3 decks of the cards with these quests. One of them is basically configuration of the board. One of them is configuration of growth of bamboo on a particular tile, which is much more difficult to pull off. And then one of them is some combination of bamboo that Takenoko has eaten. No one else was going for that, so I just went for that like 100%.
I went for that 100% also.
So how come I had 5 cards with those points on them and you had, what, 1?
Because I kept rolling the thing that gives me the stupid modifier tokens, and you often rolled the wind thingy that let you choose the take card action twice. I only rolled wind once in the game. I was not able to draw enough of those cards, even though I wanted to.
See, if you have those modifiers, you really should be going for the high point cards instead of the panda cards.
I also went for the high point cards, but the thing is you can't play the modifiers unless it's on an empty tile, completely empty. So I had these modifiers I couldn't use for anything. They were completely useless. So basically, other people were getting bonuses on their turn by the luck of the die.
The game
and
is a little
not.
random in that regard.
Anyway. And it's not perfect. It's slightly less random than Settlers, but it's similar in its randomness to Settlers in that you're playing a game where you make a bunch of decisions, but every turn you roll a die that determines something.
It determines a 3rd action.
Right.
But the mechanics there's a lot of interesting things going on to make the game not nearly as simple to play optimally as, say, Zularetto. For one, there's the game of the odds of what different cards have people drawn or will they draw, and will I give someone else victory points, and is someone else close to ending the game, and all that stuff. There's also this mechanic of if you move the panda, he'll then eat bamboo from wherever he ends up. If you move the farmer, then all the tiles of the same color as where he is that are adjacent to him, the bamboo grows up, and there's these cool pieces of stacking bamboo, like on the board, like these big stacks. But both of them can only move...
The pieces in this game are really awesome.
...in a straight line, which doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but because of the way the board grows, it actually is a huge deal, because in order to go for a particular strategy, like I wanted one particular spot to grow bamboo, and it was incredibly obvious this is what I wanted to happen because it was so I had to take multiple actions to set it up to grow over there, meaning everyone knew I really wanted it to grow and just totally dicked me on it.
Yeah, it's like I sort of tried to pay attention to that. It was the first time, but it's like I knew that someone wanted to put something somewhere, and I was like, move the farmer to that spot. That way it can't move it in a straight line to the spot he wants to move it to, and it won't be what he wants because he made it obvious to what he wants.
Yep.
And that's what happened. Thus, killing the other guy, making him lose an action or lose points, taking him out of the game. Whereas whenever it was my turn, the panda and the farmer always happened to be in just the right spot for me to move them where I wanted to move them. But I couldn't get enough cards to draw, so I only could score, so many points.
Well, see, I don't know if it mattered, but basically that spot I was going for was the only card I ever held that I didn't play, and I knew I wasn't going to get it. So whenever I had an extra action that I could not do anything useful with, what I did is go for making that grow to convince everyone, at least I was hoping, to think I really needed that and waste their action stopping me from achieving whatever it was they thought I was trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's another thing, is I never did an action to screw anyone that was not also an action to benefit me. But you could, by bluffing, and depending on how many cards you've played already, to convince people that, like, you're ahead or whatever, convince people to spend actions trying to hurt you, and maybe they will hurt you or hurt your bluff or who knows what. Thus, actually helping you by hurting them because they waste their actions.
Now, that part is interesting because this game mechanically would be incredibly simple, like baby's first ticket to ride. But there's just enough mechanics interleaved with each other to actually give a surprising amount of strategic depth despite the randomness. And for skilled players playing this game, it'll actually turn into a Twilight Struggle anticipation and card counting game. Like, it really will become a game of bluffing and second guessing.
Right, because it's like, Rim, I know in his hand he has the hex cards, right?
He has three. I have three of them.
And I can see on the board, I know what the possible hex cards are. It's usually 3 in a cook or 3 in a row or 4 in a blob. So where I will make sure I will not draw any hex cards. His hand has a limit on it. He can't play them unless he scores them. I'm going to choose the hex action. I'm going to put hexes down that I need of the right color to eat the panda or whatever, but I'm going to put them in spots that make it impossible for any of those hex cards to score. Now what's Rim going to do with his handful of cards he can't score? He's pretty much done.
But maybe I was bluffing on that because I have 3 hex cards in my hand that are worthless, and I have 2 high-scoring ones that you're ignoring now.
Maybe, but I have 4 high-scoring ones, and now I think I can score on 4 of mine, and you'll only score on 2.
Well, maybe, but I just got really lucky in one anyway.
It's possible.
Now, I guess my point is just that the game is more complex than you might think on the first play, in that it'll have plenty of staying power even for skilled players, but it is not the main event. It's like Zularetto. It's fun to play, but I would play it as the warm-up before I played Puerto Rico or Tigris and Euphrates. It's not... The brain feel is not that strong. No. It does not engage the brain too deeply.
But what's great about it, right, is that it has a lot more brain feel than, your typical warm-up game.
Like Spotted.
But it only takes like 30 minutes. This game is fast.
This game really is faster than Zularetto.
It's way faster than Zularetto or Settlers, and just as, has just as much going on, but it's over like that. Which is totally awesome in terms of, overall brain power. It's not the highest on the charts. But in terms of brain power to time it takes to play an entire game, the ratio may be the highest I've ever played, ever.
Can you think? That's a tough one. I have to think on that. We could do a whole show on...
what game has more brain feel per minute?
Ooh.
Right? It's like, yeah, sure, Eclipse is awesome, but it takes forever, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of other war games. They also take forever. What game and this is not as... It doesn't have as much as Puerto Rico, but it has as much as Settlers.
Battle Line has a pretty intense brain feel and is over pretty quickly, but I don't think it's quite on the ratio of this game.
No, I don't think so either.
I'll have to think on that. I feel like there's a show there, something about what we mean by brain feel, because that's a term that me and Scott have been using lately, talking about games.
You've been using it for the last 5 minutes.
No, I've been using it for a few weeks now. I've been hearing it off and on. No one else uses that term talking about board games. I feel like we might need to clarify what we mean by that.
Pretty sure someone else has
maybe,
used
but
it.
I think we could do a show on something like that. But anyway, Takenoko is equivalent to Ticket to Ride or Zularetto in terms of, hey, here's a pretty easy to teach game that we can play while we socialize, as opposed to the silent game of Puerto Rico.
But is not a completely worthless game that that has no intellectual component whatsoever.
And simultaneously is not a light game like Spot It, which while Spot It is very light mechanically, it wears the brain out, for one, because of the type of test it is, and two, you can't actually socialize while playing Spot It. This game
is also short, so you can socialize and then bail quickly, as opposed to even if it's a socializable game, you won't be evicted from the party because the game's over quickly and you're back partying.
Exactly.
Again.
So I'm probably gonna buy it.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, if you bought it.
I would not.
Why would you not?
Because I don't want to.
Well, then I won't buy it. So now we can't play it.
Okay.
So sad. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.